When I had my son, I thought everything would change. I thought a baby would make my parents softer, kinder. But I was wrong. From the beginning, they treated him like an inconvenience. Not openly cruel, just distant. Meanwhile, my stepsister, she could do no wrong. Even when she made mistakes, they called them phases. When I asked for help with childcare, they were busy. But when she needed money, they found it. I told myself I was imagining it. Until the day my mother said something I'll never forget. Maybe you're not stable enough to raise him. That's when I realized this wasn't favoritism. It was something worse. At first, it was small things. Comments, suggestions, whispers. My stepsister started helping. She would show up unannounced, pick up my son without asking, correct me in front of my own child. Don't hold him like that. He needs structure. You're too emotional. My parents agreed with her. Every time. If my son cried, they said it was my fault. If he was quiet, they said he seemed afraid of me. Afraid. He was too. Then one afternoon, I walked into the living room, and my stepsister was telling my parents that maybe she should take him for a while. For stability. That word again. Stability. And that's when I understood. They weren't trying to help. They were building a case. A week later, there was a knock on my door. 2 people stood outside. Social services, one of them said gently. My stomach dropped. They explained there had been a report. Concern about my child's safety. Neglect. Emotional instability. Unsafe environment. The words didn't feel real. I let them inside. My son was playing on the floor. Clean clothes. Full fridge. Safe home. But someone had painted a different picture. As they asked questions, I could feel my stepsister's voice. Hidden between the lines. They mentioned family concern. Family. I didn't need proof. I knew who made the call. And suddenly, this wasn't subtle anymore. It was official. I drove straight to my parents' house. No warning. No hesitation. My stepsister was already there. Of course she was. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked one question. Did you call social services? My mother gasped. My father frowned. My stepsister looked offended. How could you even think that, she said. Too quickly. Too rehearsed. It's probably someone worried about the baby, my mother added. Worried? About what? There was nothing to worry about. But then my stepsister said something strange. If they investigate, maybe it's for the best. For the best. I felt it then. This wasn't random. This was planned. And they weren't afraid of the investigation. They were confident in it. The social worker returned 2 days later. This time, she asked deeper questions. Has anyone in your family expressed concerns about your parenting? I paused. I could lie. But I didn't. Yes, I said quietly. She nodded like she expected that answer. Then she said something that made my chest tighten. Sometimes reports come from within the family when there's a custody interest. Custody. The word hit differently. That night, I replayed every conversation. My stepsister saying she could give him structure. My parents saying I wasn't stable. Them insisting I move back home. Them offering to help with legal paperwork. Legal paperwork. It wasn't about helping. It was about control. And maybe something else. Because my stepsister couldn't have children. And suddenly, everything felt connected. I wasn't paranoid. I was observant. A few days later, I went back to my parents' house while they were out. I know how that sounds. But something inside me needed proof. On the kitchen counter, there was a folder. Not hidden. Just placed there. Inside were printed articles. Kinship guardianship. Temporary custody rights. Family-based adoption options. My hands started shaking. There were notes in the margins. Handwriting I recognized. My stepsister's. And at the bottom of one page, my son's name. Written lightly in pencil. Like a draft. Like a plan. This wasn't concern. This wasn't protection. They weren't trying to support me. They were preparing to replace me. A formal meeting was scheduled. Social services. Me. My parents. And my stepsister. We all sat at the same table. It felt less like a discussion. And more like a quiet courtroom. My stepsister looked calm. Too calm. My mother kept holding her hand. Not mine. The social worker began reading the report. Concerns about emotional instability. My father nodded slightly. Child exposed to unpredictable behavior. My stepsister sighed at the right moments. It was rehearsed. Carefully constructed. Then the social worker paused. There are also text messages submitted as evidence. Text messages? My stepsister straightened in her chair. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Uncertainty. Because whatever was about to be read wasn't written by me. The social worker opened a printed file. These messages were provided anonymously, she said. Anonymous. But we all knew. She started reading. Once she loses custody, we can step in legally. My stepsister's face changed. My mother stopped breathing for a second. Another message. If we push the instability angle, it will move faster. The room felt smaller. My father tried to interrupt. There must be some mistake. But the social worker kept reading. There are timestamps. Screenshots. Metadata. Metadata. Proof. Not opinions. Not accusations. Proof. Then came the final message. She doesn't deserve to be his mother. That one was sent. From my stepsister's phone. And suddenly, no one was confident anymore. The silence was unbearable. No one moved. No one blinked. My stepsister finally spoke. That's taken out of context. Out of context. The words were clear. Calculated. Cruel. My father stood up. This is a misunderstanding. The social worker didn't react. She simply asked, "Are these your messages?" My stepsister's voice cracked. I was just worried about the child. The child. Not his name. Not her nephew. Just the child. My mother started crying. But not for me. For the plan falling apart. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. They never thought the truth would be read out loud. But it was. And now, they couldn't control the narrative anymore. The social worker closed the file slowly. She didn't look surprised. She looked prepared. Based on this evidence, she said calmly, the concern appears to be manipulative rather than protective. Manipulative. My stepsister's composure cracked. My father tried again. We were just trying to help. But help doesn't involve strategy. Help doesn't involve secret plans. The social worker turned to me. Your home checks out. Your child is safe. Safe. One word. But it changed everything. Then she added, we will be documenting this attempt. Attempt. Not concern. Not misunderstanding. An attempt. And suddenly, the power shifted. After the meeting, they didn't follow me outside. No dramatic apology. No accountability. Just silence. For the first time in my life, they didn't know what to say. My stepsister avoided eye contact. My mother whispered, we only wanted what's best. No. They wanted control. They wanted the version of motherhood that looked better on them. But my son reached for me. Not her. Me. And in that simple moment, I knew something they didn't. Love cannot be strategized. It cannot be reassigned. It cannot be stolen on paper. Weeks later, the case was officially closed. No further investigation. No custody review. No follow-up. Just one clear note. Child safe with mother. I framed that letter. Not out of revenge. But as a reminder. They tried to question my stability. They tried to rewrite my role. They tried to replace me. But when the truth was read out loud, their plan collapsed. And this time, Social services didn't take my child. They exposed the ones who tried to. Justice.